Welcome back to the 13th Destiny podcast with Magnum. I'm your host, James Magnum Cook, and of course my co-host, Danielle Long, is standing by out there in California.
Hello.
There she is. All right, so we're trying something new today just to give you a little update. We are trying to make sure that we can both hear each other really well, and so far so good, so just wanted to let you know that we are working on our tech. Hopefully you can hear all of us really well too. So far, it's working well. So anyway, into the news this week. This one's going to be coming from a site called Higgy Pop. It's paranormal news, ghost hunting, and eerie entertainment. So one of the articles this week, which I found very fascinating, is viewers feel paranormal reality show inaccurately portray real paranormal investigations. And one of the reasons I found this fascinating to come across this, and this was the article for this week that was on there, about a lot of viewers find it, it's very inaccurate. And of course, there's a lot of ghost hunters out there, paranormal investigators, and 64% said they were frustrated with the over-dramatization in these stories. And I found that very interesting because if you go back to the episode with the ghost biker Miranda Young, that was actually something that she and I talked about. And so when I've come across this article, I was like, oh, so that's really interesting. And so it really does. I think a lot of the regular paranormal investigators, ghost hunters, I think they've become very frustrated, even though all the TV shows do say it's for entertainment purposes. Of course, we say we're for entertainment purposes too, but I think we dive a little bit more into the reality of what things are, even though we are entertainment as well. So anyway, check that article out. Read that article. It's a very interesting article. So I think you'll find it very fascinating if you're a ghost hunter or an investigator or just someone in the paranormal, because it dives into a little bit of that stuff about the over-dramatization. Okay, I got one other one here before I do a shout out to someone about something that's going on. Spooked Ireland hunts for the ghost of a ruthless guard at Wicklow's historical jail. Going back to Miranda again, kind of interesting. So anyway, in this one, they were doing a ghostly investigation within the walls of the historically harrowing Wicklow, I guess that's Galway. The site, which has loomed over this town for 3 centuries, has a sinister reputation, once being known as the Gates of Hell. So this is something else that's very fascinating on that this week. So be sure to check that out. Okay. Before we dive into ESP, big shout out to my friend Rick Ryman. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And as you know, Rick Ryman was something not on the paranormal, but on one of the earlier shows after the pilot show. He's one of the singers I interviewed early on. And he's doing a new MP3 for me, about me. So that's pretty cool. And I told him I would shout out and tell everybody. But, it's not quite ready yet. A few people's got to hear it, but it's not quite ready yet. Anyway, so then we'll get past that. Now let's get into the heart of the show today. So we're going to be talking about ESP. And when I get Danielle back on here in just a minute, she's going to give some background and stuff. So there's like several types of ESP. A lot of it kind of falls along like psychic abilities, stuff like that. There are closely related PSI phenomena, not technically part of ESP, but some people who believe everybody possesses these abilities involuntarily experiences moments of ESP at all times. So this is going to be, and there's skeptics out there too. One of the things, I don't know that I have ESP, but I'm going to tell you something about something that happens before a lot. It happens to me a lot, and I've never quite figured that out. So as we've talked on the show before, I still DoorDash. It's one of the jobs I do beside the podcast. I will literally be thinking about something and say, oh, I haven't been there. And I'm not kidding you. The next thing you know, it pops up where I got to go. And I'm like, wow, well, that's weird. So don't know why that happens, but I'm going to say it happens about 98% of the time on a daily basis, which blows my mind. But anyway.
What is it?
Like when so when I'm DoorDashing, I'll say like today, here, I have an example from today, as a matter of fact. I had passed Dairy Queen. This is funny. I'd passed Dairy Queen over, of course, you don't know how my town's laid out. Some of the people that listen locally will know. I passed Dairy Queen. We got two of them. I passed one on Nashville Road, and a weird thing is I hadn't been there for a while. And I said to myself when I was passing it, taking another delivery, I said, it's really weird. I haven't been there in a while. I don't know why I haven't been there in a while. I literally took the delivery I was doing and had to turn around and go back to the Dairy Queen. It was like so weird, but it's not like it's unusual to me. I will just be thinking that.
So when you think about a place, then something in your day, it goes back to that place. Like,
yes, it's really weird because it's literally, I mean, it happens almost instantaneously. So I was thinking about that on my way to the other one, thinking to myself, I hadn't been there in a while. And then as soon as I dropped off the other one, I literally saw Dairy Queen pop up for Nashville Road, and I go, you got to be kidding me. And this happens a lot, and I don't know why. It's just weird. I'll be thinking about it, and it happens. I haven't quite figured.
That's interesting.
I haven't quite figured that out. I don't know if it's I don't know if I have some kind of psychic or ESP that, I have no idea. I'm not going to say for sure because I've never been, put through the test of what could possibly be. But
so do you know what thoughts? Like, you probably have a lot of thoughts throughout the day. Which ones is going to happen?
Oh,
or all of a sudden does it happen right afterwards?
It usually happens. It usually
get longer.
Right. It usually happens within less than 30 minutes.
Okay.
Or I'll be
that's pretty cool.
Or I'll be thinking about somebody I haven't talked to in a while, and lo and behold, the weird thing is I'll go somewhere and I end up running into these people. That's happened before too. I've never quite figured out what this is, why I have that. I don't know that it's like we talked about that whole deal about where I have like that negative energy. I can feel that negative for something bad has happened to one of my friends or something. But this particular thing that goes on pretty much, and I will admit, it pretty much goes on a daily basis. I don't have a clue what it is. What do you think?
I don't know. It sounds pretty interesting. It's not like a deja vu or anything like that, right?
No, it's not like deja vu. I think deja vu is more like you've been there before or something, and then
right.
Yeah. I don't know. I've kind of wondered for a long time what this is, why I can do that. I mean, now I've got members of my family that say we have some psychic ability. I will tell you that. I don't want to be dishonest about that. But a lot of ours, unfortunately, has been negative. Like I said, like mine's been like with friends and stuff. I can feel something or something bad has happened. I've got some other members of my family that also are around that kind of thing. Like they've experienced things where someone died in our family and they knew it before we even got notified, which that's kind of weird too. But yeah, I don't know.
So you definitely believe in ESP?
Oh, I definitely believe that there's ESP. I definitely believe there's psychic abilities. I mean, this is my personal belief. You don't have to believe what I believe. But yeah, I definitely believe there's something to everything like that. There's one of the other things is a lot of people don't want to believe some of this stuff. But yet even law enforcement, when you go to the psychic side, the more psychic, even they have used psychics at times. Is it 100%? Not always, but nothing's 100%. I don't think anything always works perfectly all the time.
Right. I get it. I think that there are. Yes, I think we all have an intuition we can listen to. I think we all could have some kind of ESPN at times, but I don't believe everybody that says they have it has it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I believe that's possible.
Or like they do it for profit or something, and it's not,
Yeah, I never.
Not always real.
Right now, see
that. I'm not saying everybody does that, but I'm just saying, like, I totally believe in good old intuition and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Remote viewing.
Oh yeah, remote viewing. Definitely.
I think that is a good thing because sometimes I feel like I've done that before. There's been weird things that have happened to me too, but yeah, for the most part, I go by my intuition, what I feel.
Right.
My brain likes to pick up. My brain is really good at putting patterns together. So I could talk about and hear like a bunch of different things, and then all of a sudden it'll put it together, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I have the answer to that. So I'm good at patterns, and when something like that.
All right.
But it's very interesting, remote viewing.
Oh, absolutely. And most believers
do. And so is ESP. That's just, I think it's highly subjective. Mm-hmm. And it'd be pretty cool to have some of these.
Right.
But, I've seen experiments, but then, people want to disprove the experiments.
Right.
And stuff like that. So I don't know for sure.
I think maybe the experiment.
I think for the most part, yes.
Right.
Definitely.
Well, like I said, there are people who have used people that have certain abilities that other people wouldn't even think that they would be the type of people who would use them, and that kind of proves to me that there's more to some of these subjects than some of the skeptics want to agree on. I think maybe part of this is because most believers come by their convictions through personal experience and anecdotal evidence. I mean, if you have a dream that eventually comes true, it's strikingly similar to the details. You might very well take that as proof of psychic ability. And if you hear enough incredible ESP stories from reliable sources, you might have a harder and harder time discounting the phenomena. But those who've never had these experiences obviously have a really hard time believing this stuff. But I think when you've had anything that's remotely like that, I think that's a little easier. I've never tried to. I've never quite figured out the ones who just. I don't know. Like you said, for the profit thing, that kind of bothers me too. It's just kind of like when psychics. Like, here's the thing, and I'm not trying to say anyone's not right or wrong on anything, but. Let's take, for example, there's a lot of people who have made psychic lines and stuff like that. And some of the, now, not all of it, not everybody, but there's some of the stuff that is very able to do, like from psychology and stuff. There's certain things that you can ask certain questions and, somehow you can home in on a little bit. And that kind of bothers me. But someone who just clearly just has something that they see or can do without that, and that's the ones I believe a lot more are the reality. I mean, you're open to your own opinions on this, of course, but let's deal with like a psychic that maybe, let's say they write a book or they do something like that, but they're not really on some hotline or stuff like that. But the police, let's say the police, like that particular person's been used by the police because they actually have a record of success. Now that's, to me, that's a totally different thing. But anyway, that's just my thought. And the whole ESP thing, being able to read someone's mind, the only thing that bothers me...
That's telepathy.
Well, that's the telepathy part of it.
So, yeah, there's so many different ESP things that...
Right, yeah, there's several different categories.
Lots.
And I think you're going to,
But what do you think, where do you think it comes from? Do you think, there's a matrix out there and we can just pull from the knowledge of this matrix that's going on? Do you think, how do you think it all works?
I think that a lot.
Do you think what do we have?
Right.
Or are people just born that way, or can we become better at it? I mean, I've heard that we can become better, more intuitive, that we have this kind of stuff, but where are you getting the information? Where are you getting the power? You just have it? That's it? Or are we pulling it from, the the unconsciousness of the world or the universe or like the Matrix. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I'm not really sure. I think our brains work in ways that no one has fully explored or been able to figure out, and I think that's another problem. I think, and then of course I think some brains work differently than other people's brains. That's an opinion. Or maybe you're homed into something more than someone else is. Doesn't mean that it's not real. Doesn't mean it's not there.
That reminds me of Savant. Like someone could do something like brilliantly, like extra brilliantly. That it's not exactly ESP, but it's still something that they're doing that's above and beyond most people's capabilities. And some people, here's the thing, when you talked about the brain, what went through my mind is some people can hit their head, and then all of a sudden they have this gift.
Exactly.
That they never had before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, really interesting stuff. You know?
It really is. It really is kind of fascinating. And I don't know. I think most of the people that listen to my show and your show now, since we're together now, I think most of the people like the paranormal and the stuff like it, and like the ESP and the psychic stuff. And I think they are more open-minded than some others. I think it's very difficult for people who just don't want to believe, and then they'll try to let's go to the skeptic thing. So they have some evidence here, even on their own, and yet they will still deny it, and sometimes that kind of drives me a little crazy. But I'm like, there's evidence there, but you don't want to look at the evidence. You just kind of.
It could be evidence of things. Yeah, it's right in front of some people's faces, and they still deny it. So
yeah,
I guess this is, like I said, it's all subjective. It's like,
right.
You believe, you don't believe, that type of thing, really.
Yeah.
But do you want me to go over some, maybe people don't know, I have like 10 things that are ESP.
Absolutely.
Like that. Maybe some history.
Yeah, go over it right now, and I will sit back and listen with the people who else are listening. Thank you, Danielle.
Okay, so it's ESP is referring to extrasensory perception, which involves the ability to perceive information through means other than the known human senses. ESP is a topic often associated with the paranormal or supernatural phenomena. Here are a few examples. Telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. You're good. Thank you.
Okay. Telepathy is the purported ability to transmit thoughts, emotions, or information from one person's mind to another without using any known human senses. There's clairvoyance, the alleged ability to perceive events, objects, or information beyond the range of normal human vision. There's precognition, is the idea of foreseeing future events or obtaining knowledge about future occurrences through means other than logical prediction. Telekinesis is the supposed power to move or manipulate objects with one's mind without any physical interaction. Remote viewing is a technique that allows individuals to gather information about a distant or unseen target without using their ordinary senses. Psychometry?
I couldn't get that one right either.
It's psychometry. Psychometry.
Yeah, I couldn't get it right.
It is the belief that an individual can obtain information about a person or object by touching or holding it, perceiving its history or characteristics. There's actual projection, which involves the notion of separating one's consciousness or spirit from the physical body and traveling to other locations and dimensions. So those are, I mean, there's so many more different types, like clairaudience and all, just like all different types. But I was thinking, wow, just to give a little bit of what some of the ESP things are,
Right.
and I was wondering, are we afraid sometimes to say that we have some kind of extra power or thing because people might laugh at us, think we're not
You know what?
right in the head?
Yeah. You know what?
Right?
Well, you know what? I've kind of considered myself a little different my entire life anyway. So I mean, I think I've gotten to a point where I really don't care about that. If you either like me, or you don't like me. So whatever. I've had plenty of success.
Yeah. So you're just able to say, okay, I've got this power, superpower, no one knows about.
I don't know if I would say. Well, I don't know. I take that back. I guess.
It's a superpower.
I guess you could consider it a superpower, right? I guess that's pretty cool. Never thought about it. I never thought.
What I have, and it's really weird. And I tried to look it up to see. I wonder if anyone wants to write into us at 13th Destiny Podcast at gmail.com. I have something I've been wondering about for a long time. It's my phone, right?
Okay.
But I can't be thinking about it directly.
Uh-huh.
But I can't think about it directly. But my finger does not have to touch the screen many, many times. Like, I can't even count. Like, it happens almost every day.
Really?
And it pushes, yes, and it pushes it. It could be an inch away from the screen, but I can't. Okay, so I can't go, okay, now I'm going to go push this, and I'm not going to touch the screen. It can't be thought about. It's just something that happens.
Oh,
and
that's neat.
My phone just like, yeah, I could do buttons and stuff without touching my phone. I have to be up to an inch away from my phone.
Oh, God, I got to know what this is. That's how somebody is listening.
I don't know what it is. I have no clue what it is. I'm thinking personally it's some energy, some kind of energy that's coming off me.
That's possible.
That's the only thing I can think of. Like, but I tried to look it up and I haven't heard anyone have that.
That's wild.
Have you heard of it?
No, I have not. But that whole energy thing, I used to have like a really high level of static electricity with me. I mean, not even trying when I was younger, which I don't know what happened to it, but I used to be able to do some weird things. Some of the people.
I don't think it's exactly static electricity.
No, I don't think it's static electricity on you. Mine was totally different. But I was just thinking about how the energy thing, about having like energy that you're not aware of. Yours is so different. That's
one little superpower I have. I don't like telling anybody, but I can't find anyone else that has it.
All right. Well, you just told everybody, whoever's listening, or whoever comes across this. So I guess
I know. But I'm hoping somebody out there knows what it is and has the same thing.
Right. I kind of want to know what it is now. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I've known Danielle for a long time. That's the first time she ever told me anything about that. That's pretty good. So that's. You see,
it really happens.
She didn't even want to tell me, and I've known Danielle for a while.
Oh yeah, many years.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I also have a little bit of history on ESP.
Sounds good.
Would you like to hear any of that?
I would love to hear the history of ESP. That sounds like something that the people.
It's not like it's just a little bit here. Okay, so ancient ESP and ancient Egypt, clairvoyance and divination were integral to the culture. Priests and priestesses were often responsible for interpreting dreams, reading omens, and communicating with the spirit world. Hieroglyphs and symbols were used to convey hidden messages and prophecies, and the concept of the third eye was associated with heightened perception. And that third eye, that's where we're supposed to get some of that, right? And
right.
Isn't that the pineal gland? The third eye, like, it's like right there in the middle of our forehead, and back there, that's where our pineal gland is, and that's where stuff can come from.
You asking me medical stuff off the top of my head, I had something to think about.
Okay. But yeah, the third eye, isn't it on our dollar bill at the top of the pyramid?
Oh yeah, that's there too. Part of all the
look at those hidden symbols all around us, huh?
Part of that too, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Fascinating, isn't it?
All right, yeah, it is, yes.
Anyway, I'll let you finish.
In ancient Greece, oracles played a certain role in the belief in ESP. The Oracle of Delphi, located at the Temple of Apollo, was the most renowned oracle in ancient Greece. Pilgrims sought guidance on various matters by consulting the Pythia, the priestess of the oracle, who would enter a trance-like state and provide cryptic prophecies. The belief in clairvoyant abilities and prophetic visions was deeply ingrained in Greek society, influencing decisions of state and personal life. I've heard like kings and stuff have their own like people back then, like even like that do like predictions for them and all kinds of stuff, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I found I always found that very fascinating, as by the way, as well. Speaking of fascinating things, but yeah, that's cool.
Yes. Chinese culture was marked by a long history of divination practices, including the use of oracle bones, yarrow stalks, and the I Ching. These practices aimed to gain insight into the future, interpret dreams, and make important decisions. The I Ching, a classic Chinese text, contains a system of divination based on hexagrams symbolizing various aspects of life. The belief in connecting with hidden realms to access knowledge was an essential aspect of ancient Chinese philosophy and spirituality. And then I have this goes into the 19th century revival. The 19th century was a period of great intellectual and scientific ferment, but also witnessed a renewed interest in the supernatural and unexplained phenomena. This resurgence can be attributed in part to the Industrial Revolution and a shift from agrarian to industrial societies, which brought about a sense of wonder and curiosity about the unknown. The foundation of the Society for Psychical Research, SPR, in London in 1882 marked a significant turning point. The SPR aimed to apply scientific methods to investigate paranormal phenomena, including ESP. Researchers within the SPR sought to conduct rigorous experiments and gather empirical evidence to substantiate claims of psychic phenomena. They collected anecdotes, case studies, and experimental data from individuals who reported experiences related to ESP. J.B. Rhine. Now, J.B. Rhine's experiments in the 1930s and the 1940s were instrumental in shaping the modern study of ESP. His work included the development of controlled experiments, which aimed to test for telepathy, clairvoyance, and precognition. The Zener cards, a set of cards each bearing one of 5 symbols, were used in Rhine's experiments. Participants were asked to guess the symbol on the hidden card, demonstrating their purported clairvoyance abilities. The statistical analysis of results and the application of probability theory came central to Rhine's work, with the expectation that the chance alone could not account for the participants' performance. Rhine's work at Duke University, along with his popular books such as New Frontiers of the Mind, brought the concept of ESP to public attention and gathered both enthusiasm and skepticism. Skepticism has been a constant feature in the history of ESP research. Critics have raised several objections, including concerns about the methodology of experiments and the potential for experimenter bias. They argue that the statistical significance of ESP results could be attributed to chance, sensory leakage, or non-paranormal factors. Notable skeptics like magician and author James Randi actively challenged ESP claims. Randi offered cash prizes for individuals who could demonstrate paranormal ability under controlled conditions, aiming to debunk what he had considered pseudoscience. The debate over the validity of ESP research has persisted for decades, with some psychologists and scientists remaining highly critical of ESP research, but others believe that the evidence suggests the existence of some form of extrasensory perception. Now we have the post-Ryan developments. In the post-Ryan era, parapsychologists and researchers continued to explore ESP and related phenomena. Charles Honorton conducted research on Dansfield experiments, which involved using sensory isolation to test for telepathy. Dean Radin's work extended to psychokinesis, the alleged ability to influence objects or events through mental intention. Advancements in statistical techniques such as meta-analysis have been employed to synthesize the results of multiple ESP experiments. Some meta-analyses have suggested small but statistically significant effect, which proponents argue supports the existence of ESP. Now, there was also, wasn't there some, let's see, and do you remember the movie Men Who Stared at Goats?
No, because I haven't seen that one, obviously.
Okay, so wasn't there in the 70s something called, was it Stargate?
Yes. Stargate
and
actually was a little late.
Our government
at
the time was like trying to do experiments in it, and also they were doing experiments like I think it was going back before between Russia and us. We were both doing experiments.
Right.
I believe you're correct. Macharian candidate. Macharian. That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different than ESP, but it's still experimental. Well, I mean, I kind of wonder exactly everything that the government has done.
Well, the government does lots of things, right?
I have something a little bit on this. Yeah. Remote viewing is a form of ESP in which individuals are said to perceive and describe remote or distant locations, objects, or events without the use of regular senses. Researchers like Russell Targ and Harold Putoff.
Is that really how you say that name? Oh my God.
Puthoff. Puthoff. Conducted remote viewing experiments in the 1970s and 80s at the Stanford Research Institute.
Right.
Participants claimed to provide accurate information about distant locations or hidden targets, although the scientific community remains divided on the validity of these claims. One well-known example is Stargate project, conducted by the U.S. government, which aimed to investigate the military potential of remote viewing. I think that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That is an interesting idea. I like the fact that it was Stargate too, by the way. But that's to me.
I heard it's still being used.
It probably, if they are using it, it probably is being used. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. There's lots of things that we're not in tune to or to know. I mean, that's just typical. That's typical of pretty much any government.
I think it's sort of interesting that we could still be using that.
It could be going on for sure.
Because it'd be very helpful. If you could spy on somebody, you don't have to be there, right?
Yeah, right.
Spy on a place, or know something.
The only problem.
That's pretty good stuff.
It's good stuff. The only problem I see with that, is the misuse. Of course, everybody misuses everything pretty much. Because one person. I mean, I think it's our human frailties. We unfortunately sometimes, we can do this, and then. Instead of using it for good, unfortunately, sometimes we use it for bad, and I hate that. But I think that's human nature as well. But yeah, it would be fascinating. It would be fascinating if we actually knew this, but I don't think we're gonna know that anytime soon. Yeah.
I just feel like I've heard stories and stuff to find certain people and stuff. We've used
I think I do remember, and I'm not. This is trying to remember off the top of my head. I think I remember some interviews with some people who had been in the military that claimed that remote viewing had been used and stuff. So, but I can't remember on which show it was I listened to. It might have been Coast to Coast. Who knows? I know you and I both liked that show really well. But it's possible. It's possible. I just can't remember off the top of my head where I heard that. But I do know that I heard some.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard it too, to find certain people and.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. That it's been used. But nowadays, think of this, though. Nowadays, we might have it, or we might be getting close to having like a little fly that looks like a real fly, just kind of fly out in it. Over there, they have no idea what it is. I am. And kind of using,
So
something that's not always super accurate. We could actually see it that way instead.
Right. So that's kind of funny that you brought that up, a fly, because I'm going to tell you now. Before we came on the air, I told Danielle something that happened. That I've got a problem with some wasps that have gotten to my studio, and I'm allergic to them. She knows I'm allergic to them. Several other people know I'm allergic to them, including the military, as a matter of fact, of all things. Long story on that one. We won't go into my short-lived military career. But anyway, while you were saying that is the funniest thing that just happened. Because on this side, there's a fly that just showed up out of nowhere, and I'm going, she is talking about a fly, and this fly just showed up. I'm like, are you kidding me? Anyway, my studio's out in the country, so we'll have to figure out how these guys got in here. It may have been something, the door might have been open too long or something, or I don't know. Who knows? I'm going to get rid of them without getting hurt later.
Don't we always say, if I could be a fly on the wall?
Oh, yeah. Isn't that an interesting term? But that's a good term. My problem is that I could be the fly on the wall. My luck is I'd be the one that gets swatted. Just as I was finding everything out, bam!
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
I'll be like, well, that didn't work. That didn't work out real well. Oh my goodness!
No, but that's kind of it. Did you say you had some stories about ESP?
I was going to talk about. I looked for some stories about people with ESP, but it seems like it's. It seems like it's really limited, which is kind of weird. I don't know if maybe I'm just not finding the right stuff. I know that there's been. Obviously, we know about psychics and stuff like that, but I was trying to find somebody maybe that was well known. I know that.
Edgar Casey.
And I also know that there's.
You could say that about him, and he is well known,
right?
And you could say, okay, so he wasn't that great on actual predictions, but his sight into people's health, he just knew that he is really good at that,
right? And there's something else I did come across. I do know that and which I guess I just missed it at some point, but apparently even the CIA has experimented with ESP, but we didn't know it until like I think around 2021 is what I found out, so that's. I think I find that fascinating too. I think it's been declassified for the most part, but I find it fascinating that they were even using experiments with ESP and stuff. Which, I mean, you were going back to the whole spy thing. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And then of course you got a lot of universities that have experimented with this stuff, even though there are a lot of skeptics from the universities, even Harvard. FBI as well. So FBI, CIA, they both experiment.
The police, like you said, that they've had people help find people and stuff.
Right.
So
oh yeah. One of the things one of the abilities that you brought up on the different types. One of that goes to a lot of stuff like where the police have used people like an object from someone, which is kind of misportrayed as well in some popular cultural movies, but in reality, they have done that kind of stuff. Like say just like a coat from a missing child or something like that. They've done stuff like that. That has as well. Those facts are not something that's classified by any but my means. I do I can't remember the police agency that it was. I might have to look that up. We might talk about that some other time. But I remember this clearly that someone, I think it was like the news media when they were trying to use a psychic and stuff, asked them why they were using someone like that. And I believe, if I remember correctly, I think it was like a chief of police, and he said, "I'm willing to do whatever to find someone," and just left it at that. Which that just put us quite over the the whole room basically. I just can't remember what the that was a press conference actually. It was years ago. I just can't remember where it was at. I'll try to find that. That's something interesting too. That all goes along with what we're talking with today. But yeah,
I have a little story.
Oh yeah, let's hear another story. I love it.
Well, I gave the history, but there's the case of Ellen Garrett. Ellen Garrett was a prominent figure in the world of psychic phenomena and parapsychology during the mid-20th century. Her life and work have been subject to extensive investigation and scrutiny, and her experience with ESP and mediumship continued to be a source of fascination and debate. Ellen Garrett, an Irish-born medium, gained international recognition for her psychic abilities. She founded the Parapsychology Foundation in 1951, which aimed to support scientific research into paranormal phenomena, including ESP. One of the notable incidents in her life involved a seance conducted in 1937. In this particular seance, Garrett claimed to have made contact with the spirit of a deceased physician named Dr. Fletcher. She provided detailed information about the doctor, his medical practice, and even specific case history. What made this event remarkable was that Dr. Fletcher had been a real person who had practiced medicine in India and had passed away years before. Ellen Garrett's detailed descriptions of Dr. Fletcher's life and work, along with her ability to access specific medical knowledge during the seance, astounded those in attendance. Skeptics, however, questioned whether the information could have been obtained through controversial means or if it truly demonstrated extrasensory perception. This case exemplifies the complexity of ESP experiences and the challenges of interpreting them. While some regard Garrett's abilities as evidence of a genuine connection to the spirit world or as a demonstration of ESP, others remain skeptical, suggesting alternative explanations for the information she provided. So that's just like an example of what someone could do. Right. They're like, wow, how could she ever know about this person, or even But is that ESP, or is that kind of like maybe like a psychic connection, maybe to
Psychic connection, maybe.
okay, so when I've seen these kids where they're reborn, they're born, and they said they lived a past life,
Right.
something like that, where maybe she knew this person in a past life, or somehow another way.
Another thing very hard to prove.
ESP, not quite. Like, how does she know?
Right.
That there's the Akashic records that they say that it's kind of up there. Like, I was thinking, like in the Matrix, that has everything, and maybe she has the ability to go up and pull some information down, something like that.
Right. And
yeah.
Well, one of the things that I find fascinating about this is that you brought up is that was long ago when we didn't, when people didn't have the access to the records and things that we do now, and the way we keep them. We have such a better storage of things of people that are living now. Then the further back you go, it's not quite that easy. I'll tell you a little example of something. Well, I think you were looking at that problem with my genealogy and stuff, and I just recently talked to my sister about that. There are some things that are missing because they just weren't kept in my particular family. There's a couple of reasons for that. I won't go into details of that today, or at least what she said to me, but I don't want to talk about it on the show. But I know that you were doing some research on that, and there's some missing connections, obviously, and I think so. That's just one example. So if this person was able to pull stuff from a person's life that shouldn't be able to be known at that time period, that is very, very fascinating to me, because the farther back you go, the harder some records are. Things that got destroyed and various things over the years are just misplaced, or even wars have displaced a lot of information on stuff. But so yeah, I kind of find that like a little bit more credible, because she should know these things. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, there's people that's able to help the police find missing children and find missing people, help solve murders and things like that.
Absolutely.
Which it's really, really pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
now the other
that's all the information I have.
Yeah, before we close out here, I was going to tell you about the flip side of that, though. The weird thing to me on that is that they can do some, but they can't do all. You know what I mean? It's like we have so many things that people that just up and occasionally the psychic is able to do this, and then other times they just can't seem to. So I'm not sure if it's maybe the ability doesn't work 100%, or now this is something else I've always thought about. It's kind of like the hypnotist says, people that don't want to be hypnotized can't be hypnotized, according to like really good ones. And I'm just kind of wondering if maybe some people just have a psychic block. They're able to block the psychic somehow, which I don't know. It's just a weird thought that I've had. I've never quite figured that out. Are you able to block certain things out? Which I wouldn't want necessarily everyone.
Yeah. I believe you can.
Yeah, because
I think you can block certain things.
Yeah. Because otherwise, why could they not? Why could the psychic not solve every murder? Why could they not solve every missing person? See, that's the thing that gets me. I'm not trying to be skeptical. I'm just saying I'm wondering on the flip side, does the other person they're trying to home in have some weird way of blocking that they don't even know they're blocking them, or maybe perhaps.
If they're dead, they probably don't.
No, I'm not talking about the dead person. I'm talking about the person that did the crime. Is it possible that they are such a violent person it's hard to home in on the violence? Maybe, I don't know. It's something.
I don't know.
Just something.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's just something I always wondered about. That's just my own personal opinion kind of thing, and every time I do put my personal opinion in, I do kind of like say it's my personal opinion, but I've just always kind of wondered about that. Like maybe somebody has a block that, hey, they can block this particular person or people, but other people can't, or maybe the one other part of that with the ESP and the psychic abilities and all that, maybe some people just drop their guard. I'm not sure how that works. I think you and I both would have to probably talk to someone who deals with this on a regular basis for us to kind of dig into that and say
we should get like a speaker.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly.
That actually deals with people with ESP.
Yeah, and if this show works, if this show works well today, the way I've got it set up, I'll tell Danielle another little secret before we get off here. If this works well and everything comes out well, since the equipment is mobile, I can probably actually go to someone and have this all set up the same way, and you and I can both interview the person on the same time. So until I
That'd be nice.
or until I get the studio cleared of our invaders and cleaned up and everything else that's going on over here. Oh my goodness. I think it's that time of year where everything tries to get in before it gets extremely cold and stays cold. So I don't know. I may have left the door. I may have left it.
Do you have something to help you if you get bit?
Oh, absolutely. The weird thing is today, for the most part, I don't know if all of them got to me. But usually, if I just get one wasp sting, I can usually get it under control pretty quick with just Benadryl. But I don't know what would happen in this situation. I certainly don't want to go to the ER. That's not something I plan on doing today. So when I get done, I'm gonna close out here, and I'll probably put all this up on and do it up on the laptop a little bit later, and we'll have the show up sometime later this evening or early in the morning. Because I'm not going to really take a chance here with these guys right now. I've stayed pretty still for the most part during the show, and I'm going to try to stay still as we close out. But I think...
Okay, don't move.
Yeah, don't move too much. Unfortunately, I do have to push a couple buttons and everything. So anyway, we're going to close out the 13th Destiny podcast.
All right.
Thank you for being here. God bless. And Danielle, you want to say goodbye as well?
Bye, everybody. If you like us, write us at 13th Destiny Podcast at gmail.com. Subscribe, share. We'd really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, and see you guys next week.
Bye. Bye-bye.